Hey guys, welcome back to Finding a Toria. We are so excited to have you listening with us today.
I'm excited.
Yep.
Definitely excited.
I've got my co-hosts Malcolm and Tori and our good friend Jess joining us again on our podcast today.
Jess is back.
Woo, woo. So I just want to throw out there, please remember you can find us on all of the podcatchers. You can always find us at www.findingatoria.com wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. Let me try that again. And we've been messing up the URL a lot lately. You can find us on social media. So look us up, Finding a Toria or Wordleaf Media.
And please, if you would care to support our efforts here, we do have a healthy and growing Patreon that we would love to invite you behind the paywall of.
Yes.
There's stuff there.
Touch the button on our website.
Please do touch the button on our website.
All right. So Tori and Malcolm have their dice ready.
I don't have it. No, my dice fell on the floor.
Oh, no.
That
Tori
was why I
lost
was
their
laughing.
dice.
I didn't hear that.
Tori lost.
Shut up.
All right, so we're gonna have a roll off today.
Do we?
And
Bonuses.
I'm thinking about the bonuses here. I am going to give Malcolm a +2, and I'm gonna give Tori a +1. I'm going to give him a bonus for the topic.
I keep doing movies and I keep getting bonuses. I think we're rewarding me. Am I metagaming? Maybe.
I think this is the first time he's had a higher bonus than you, though, isn't it?
Probably.
I think so. All right, let's roll. Let's see how we go.
Here we go.
14, so 15.
17, so 19.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Dang. All right. Malcolm wins the roll. So are you going first or are you
so warm over
seating
here.
and passing it to Bird?
I'd like to defer, please.
All right.
If you're willing. I'm not if you don't want
Okay.
to, you don't have to, but if
No,
yes,
we can do
I would
this.
like to defer.
All right. Tori, you are up. And
Okay.
share with us what you're talking about today.
I'm going to talk about great player characteristics like the actual player while they're playing, as well as problem player characteristics. Now, we did cover some of the problem characteristics in Pet Peeve.
Okay.
But some of them we did.
So some of these are new, and then you're going to show us the other side with the with good.
I'm going to go with
things
the good one first.
I'm going to get my pen ready for this because.
So things that are good for a player to do at the table.
Right.
Okay, cool.
And number one thing that like I saw in all of the stuff I read and watched,
Sure.
engaged with the game.
Be where you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like paying attention, grabbing those plot hooks, like
Asking questions.
asking questions, interacting with the other people at the table in game.
Engagement.
You
Jess?
know?
You sort of leaned in. I wondered if you had a question or anything about that or a thought on it.
No, I was just trying to make sure I was close enough to my think of something to say.
I'm wondering at your table with that you DM, because it's virtual, it's a little different. Do you think that it is hard to maintain engagement or for players to stay engaged?
Actually, I think it might be easier.
Okay,
to
how
keep
come?
people to stay engaged? Because everything I have is displayed on a computer. No one can get distracted by a device because the DM is the
You're
device.
on the device.
Right. Like if they want to use their phone, they have to look at me in the computer screen, and that's where the map is. It's on the computer screen. So it's not like it's on the table in front of them and then they can just kind of be like looking down at their phone while...
And there's no like real world interrupters, like the dog, you know what I mean?
Oh, well,
maybe.
their
I
dog
guess so.
interrupts, wants a snack or to go out or whatever. And, the two of the people at this table are a married couple and they just had a baby. So,
Right.
Yeah, big interrupter.
yeah. So we have to pause for things like that, but we just pause the whole, all right, now's a good time for a 5-minute break. You go deal with the baby.
So
do
everybody
dog.
maintains engagement at the same level. When we're not gaming, and then when we are, we're all back and we're all able to.
Yeah, it's like I've not had an issue with anybody like, hey, is
Right? Are you
your turn, what are you
still
doing?
with us there?
yeah, it's I think the only issue that I have is that occasionally they will get together in person and not all of them fit on the camera at the same time. So like one person will be off camera and I just can't see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But they're always ready for their turn,
So they're
it's-
obviously connected. Yeah.
It's more just like I kind of prefer it when everybody like either have everybody be virtual or
Right.
not, but
For the engagement factor, what else should we be doing at the table?
Collaborating with the DM. You are not fighting against the DM. You are playing the game with the DM. Like, don't.
Said with, guys, instead of against. With.
Oh yeah.
Please.
We're against you all the time.
That's why I don't let groups go outside alone during break. What are you guys talking about? What are you saying?
I have a question about that engagement piece, Tori.
What?
Do you think there is, how much of that do you think is an aspect of the gameplay at the table, and how much do you think is an aspect of the person? Like, can it be addressed?
Yes.
How would you address it?
I mean, like, honestly, I will say session 0. Session 0.
The magic of it, right?
Right? Like, you can get almost all of that out. You can also say, hey, by the way, guys, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be spending this time. Please, phones down. Mm-hmm. Or please, if like you
Set the expectation.
Right.
Yeah.
So that way, if for some reason it becomes a problem, you can handle it in the moment. Be like, hey guys, remember we talked about this?
How much of a challenge is that when, like, I think about our table, we sort of have this amalgamation of digital and paper and things like that. But, I'll have a device up to use beyond, to have my character sheet or
Right.
things like that. So, like, if you're at a table where it's okay to use your digital tools for the game, as the DM, you don't necessarily see what's on that screen. So that device down rule doesn't necessarily
But
work.
here's the thing about that. If you're just using it in D&D Beyond, you are already
You're engaged.
You're engaged already. So you're not going to be not paying attention.
That's why, yeah. And going back to the old days before Beyond, Jess was a great example when she came to our table as a new player. Mm-hmm. Getting in and finding those spells and making sure that you had the right ones ready was never a lack of engagement, even if you aren't, front center at attention. That's engaged work at the table. So
Yep.
I never looked over the screen, and when somebody's nose was in a book, so to say, in the old days, thought, well, they're just not playing the they're engaged with a function of the game regardless at that point in time.
Right.
I was deciding between Firebolt and Eldritch Blast.
These were
These are important decisions.
I
were
wasn't
huge.
checking my email or texting people or whatever. I was
figuring which way I was going to fricassee the NPCs. In the game.
And you can figure
do I
out
want
real
to-
quickly if somebody is not engaged in the game.
Yeah.
Now, I had another question though.
Yeah.
How much? I think that's a shared responsibility. You're supposed to be there as a player. You're supposed to show up. You're supposed to do your job. You're supposed to stay in tune and on turn. Absolutely. What if the game's not engaging?
Then you're not at the right table.
Right. What if you're sitting there and the DM's struggling, or you've got munchkin players around you, and it's just so there needs to be a kind of a gut check from the whole table of if somebody's not engaged, why?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that falls to not only the DM, your other players too.
You're a table. You are You're all playing the game together. There we go. Fuck it, I couldn't say the
Easy
word.
for you to say.
Ta-da! But you guys
I'm not going to say anything. I'm already in enough trouble.
I'll start throwing gummy bears at you.
That was my hobby. Come on.
Give you the
was-
crinkles. Gotta get a dose of that.
All right.
Okay.
But yeah, you are all playing together, and if you are sitting at a table and somebody is having problems paying attention, you can always be the like one at the table who with the elbow, hey,
Hey, your turn
Back.
coming up.
Right.
There-
Or, I'm about to Leroy Jenkins this.
Yeah.
Shoot something for me, you know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then that kind of comes back to my table. So yeah, because we have a lot of distractors in the form of, like one of them has multiple cats that like constantly demand attention from her, and like I'll literally see them like climbing up her on the video, and like it's really funny. And then like the couple with the baby and the dog,
She's gonna
and
get eaten by cats.
so
They climb up her?
well, like it jumps up into her lap because she's sitting at her computer,
Right.
And then after that, like I see it like kind of like climb
Paw up to
her,
the- whoa,
up her shoulder.
yeah, no.
So then it's like
Oh, no.
basically the cat is demanding like hug me now.
Okay.
Little mountain goat
Lady.
dog.
Yep. So like we have all of these different distractors, and if I notice that somebody's not paying attention, I assume it's one of the numerous life things rather than they're just dicking around on their phone. And I just pause and I'm like, hey, everybody doing all right? Like what's
You
going
gotta
on?
do a check-in. Same
Yep.
thing if you it's same thing in person. If you look up from behind the screen and everybody's kind of on a different or focusing on something else, then you got to pause the game and move.
Well, that's a really good point, because I was going to bring it to you as a question. Consummate DM. I know this is something I've dealt with behind the screen. Is having an awareness, having a pulse, looking at your players, knowing your players well enough that you can read their body language, you can read their face, you know when they are checking out, and having things in your pocket to address that, having a way to.
Here's another plot hook.
How do you
Got
bring
it in
that
my
person
pocket
in?
somewhere.
So yeah, Malcolm, what do you do for some of those things?
I think that, if you notice that the story, and sometimes it's nobody's fault, sometimes the story and the action of the game carries away from a character. And if you are looking at the second time going around the table and they're just kind of like, all right, well, I'm going to, nothing I can do. That's what I don't like in a game, is when a player looks at the situation and goes, there's nothing that to me means that they've kind of been left out of the action or the story. And it's important to try to bring them back. As far as tools to bring them back, absolutely anything. You can have a cave in. You can, if somebody is really out to lunch, a really good thing to do is just look at them and say, hey, I'm going to need a perception check.
There it is.
You need a what? What for me? I've been really quiet. Like this. Come on, man. Yeah, I know. Need a perception check from you, and then based on that, how that goes, you can either pull them into the action or create new action around that character.
And, like, I ended up creating like the opposite of action almost. Like I took away some of the action to create like more political intrigue, because like I had one player who had learned his character knew Orcish, and he was really disappointed that he didn't get to use it because all the orcs just wanted to fight. Like per
Nice.
the rules of how the module had it set up.
Pardon me, sir. Dodge. Pardon me, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I ended up creating an entire second faction of orcs.
So they
So
could have some
They could
interaction.
have the good orcs and the bad orcs. We could still have the combat with the bad orcs, but now they're helping the good orcs take over from the bad orcs, and like they loved that. Like that's not in the module at all.
No, that's a DM
That's a
thinking
pivot,
of
yeah.
how to serve their table, make sure their table's having fun.
Are we allowed to call them gorks?
Good orc.
Good orcs.
Good orcs.
I'm a good
That's
orcs.
The intellectual erudite class of orc, the gork.
That is actually what my table called them.
There it is.
Score one for Malcolm.
Score one for the whole gork community.
All right,
Because then the other one were the borks,
the porks,
the bad orcs.
Damn it.
orcs and the gorks. All right, so Bird, we really went down the rabbit hole on that one, but I really think it was great
More of a
conversation.
gork.
And I
cave.
will say this, there was a tool that was used back in the day, and I'm betting money it would still work. the statement, "You hear thunder."
We reserve that for only the most munchkinary moments at the table.
You hear thunder. And then you'd see a pack of teenagers go,
Oh shit.
That's when you're like really off the rails and they're like, yeah, no. Actually, fuck the DM. Here's what we're going to do. Oh, really?
"You hear thunder."
Meteorologist Dungeon Master is calling for. Oh, yeah. You hear thunder.
Cumulonimbus clouds. In the distance.
Oh my God.
no.
It would because we would be dicking off and
yeah.
just we had lost the plot completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing like the lightning or just the stern look in the I'm not even looking at it. I'm just going to roll die.
Yeah.
And look at
Or
it.
even if you were behind the screen,
that was a
I would
frequent.
see
That was my
handful
go-to.
of dice, and all of us would be like, "That was more than one.
Wait a minute.
What is going on?
Did you
We're
make
all
a map?
gonna die."
Do
That
you
would be
perceive
my
anything? I
go-to is
perceive
grab
things.
the dice and roll.
I'm perceiving everything right now. What do I perceive?
It's like, that's the one problem with my game being digital. I can't just like grab 20 d20s and
Yeah, you
drop
can.
them on. I
You
just
can
need the sound.
absolutely
Like,
do that with
I need to
D&D
set up
Beyond.
I need to set up multiple, because it'll just do like the one. Like
Right.
it'll just be like,
Yeah.
oh, DM's rolling. It won't be like the
But it's still-
DM's
it's
rolling
still-
for 20 things.
Right.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Like I need that like multiple dice at the same time.
Where you go to
My
the
favorite
bag
would be
and
roll one and be like, roll initiative.
Dude, we're at my house.
Come
Doesn't
on.
matter. Game time, bitches.
Maybe you should have been paying attention to the game.
Right. Thunder rolls. So what? That I think the engagement is something that could just be talked about all day. That it makes the game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What else do you find are characteristics of positive players?
People who pass the spotlight.
Ooh, I like that.
I've heard about these players.
Hey, I think
It is not
in our last
everybody's-
episode,
yeah.
we had an example of that.
Yep. It's the ones who are like, no.
It's the anti-main
It's-
character
yes,
syndrome.
exactly.
It's the group character acknowledgement.
Be like, hey, I think that person can do this. Mm-hmm. Or if it's their like arc,
Yeah.
they're backing that other player's play.
Absolutely.
And that one, we have a bunch of people like that.
And I think you get better, richer stories
Yeah.
that way than
Yep.
everybody just bucking for the glory and making sure that they get their 1/5 treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letting people make mistakes.
Ooh, I like that one.
Let people make mistakes. And you are not playing for everybody else. Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's like, why did that player do that for that? You're not playing them. Let them make mistakes. Let them do what they're going to do.
But sometimes as a DM, it's fun to look at people and say, "Are you sure you want to do that?"
But that's at a DM. I'm talking I'm talking about as a PC.
I know.
Right.
And it's going to be really, really tough to do, especially if there are new players. Mm-hmm. Because you're just like, no, why'd you do that? Like, let them make mistakes.
Yeah.
And you get some very interesting outcomes at those attempts.
And
Just
you,
richer story.
Okay, so Jess has shared with me some of the stories at the table she DMs, and I get it. This, you're talking about players,
Yeah.
and whatever. But I mean, I think it is something that still applies as the DM. And the one story that's coming to my mind, Jess, is when you talked about your player. I don't know if it's your sister or whomever, but who wants to not worry about impulse control too much.
Yeah, my sister's friend,
and
yeah.
their the situation that happened to them on the bridge.
Oh my God.
In the module you were running. So like share this. This was really, this is a great example of sort of how allowing people to do something that may or may not be really the best choice or, whatever, turns into a fun situation at the table. And yeah, anyway, just.
Yeah, so basically, like, this story is actually a great example of why really terrible rolls can actually make for some of the best shit in D&D. Because, like, this was a section of the module that did not have a ton of combat. There was basically one crazed gnome that you could kind of bypass, and a single mimic.
Yeah,
and that's it.
And I had told Jess, I had run this module with my family as well, and I had warned about this section. I was like, you might want to beef this section up. You might want to modify some things, because honestly, my family found it a little bit boring. So
my table did not find it boring at all, and it was entirely because of this one character, or this one player, who she likes the escapism of D&D because she can not be bound by the constraints that real life places on her, and she loves
consequences of the real world
Right.
are not
it's
going to be there.
She can go and do whatever the fuck she wants, and yeah, there will be some amount of consequences, but for the most part, they've gotten out of everything pretty much unscathed.
Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, she's the Leroy Jenkins of the group. So basically, they found the mimic before they even knew what the quest was. They kind of vaguely knew that something was up with the king of the gnomes, but that was like all they knew. So they found the mimic and killed it, and she's like, they at this point know that they need to prove to the king that the mimic is dead. So she's carrying around the corpse of the mimic, and they get to this bridge, and it's kind of swaying a little bit, it's one of those you might want to be able to keep your balance on it. So I have them do a skill check, and everybody else is just like, okay, yeah, nope, I'm good. One of them rolls a nat 20s. We're like, it looks like a ballet how you dance across the bridge with perfect it doesn't even sway at all because of the perfect spot to put your feet so that the bridge just does not move at all. And then it comes to her. And so it was like, okay, not only is this kind of like a swayy, rickety bridge, you're carrying a mimic. You're carrying a mimic corpse. So roll with disadvantage.
There it is.
And she fell onto the bridge, this time at least, but she decided she's not going to get back up. She's just going to roll over onto her back and then push herself across the bridge with her feet. Except, okay, you can't see where you're going, so roll again.
You're backstroking on a suspension bridge?
Yeah.
With a mimic corpse.
A mimic corpse.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not going to try to get up, guys. Here's the plan. Because I expect you to go, okay, army crawl. She
Right.
touched the corpse. No, we're gonna backstroke. And we're going to kick our way, okay, across the bridge.
Because she couldn't see where she was going, I had her roll again. And she rolled a 1 again. So this was like, okay, you basically pushed yourself off the bridge into the water below.
Which is probably the most likely outcome of that plan.
right.
Yeah. Period.
If we're going to grab that and apply it to actual world physics, you're taking a bath.
Right.
So everybody else at this point has been on the other side of the bridge for a long time.
This was not a difficult task.
No, it was not a difficult task.
So much so
at
that
all.
somebody was pirouetting on their way.
I know, right? So basically, they have nothing to do right now except for wait for her to cross the bridge
And place bets.
This is the most engaged I've seen them because they're really invested in seeing how the fuck does she get across the bridge? And then
What's the best part about this story is I can see this all in my head.
I can see the dice rolls and
It's
the
amazing.
reactions, too.
So I'm not done. That's only the first half of the story.
But wait, it gets worse.
So she's in the water with the mimic corpse, and they're like, okay, so up above, it's a cliff. So they're trying to decide how to get her up, and they decide, it's like, okay, well, at least let's divest her of the mimic corpse, and they basically throw a rope down. She ties the rope to the mimic corpse, and they haul it up. It's like, okay, at least now she doesn't have the mimic corpse with her.
Put the baby in the basket, and we'll hold the baby up. We will come back for you later. I love this plan.
So once they have the mimic corpse up there, they decide, so at least now they're problem solving as a group, because they could have her go back around and walk up and bypass.
That's what would be hilarious if it was an 8-minute walk to go around.
But they decided they wanted to try having her climb up the cliff instead.
Oh no.
Because it's gone so well so far.
Right. So
she doesn't have
At
the
least
mimic
she
now.
doesn't have the mimic now. She's not
at
rolling
least
at
it's not-
disadvantage.
It's not a disadvantage because she's not cradling a mimic corpse.
Once again, real world, if you had fallen off a bridge on a Tuesday and somebody later that Tuesday was like, hey, why don't you climb that sheer cliff? Fuck you.
Well, what they did was like, all right, we're gonna help you with this. We're gonna toss the rope back down and we'll pull.
Oh no! Oh no!
So the ranger is just kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna watch this all happen. So he chooses to not help. He's just gonna stand back.
Violence.
The plan was so bad that the player was like, I'm just gonna not.
So then we have the druid
I don't
and
want
the
my
cleric.
name associated with any of this at all. It's me and the corpse, and we're just watching you guys.
Carry on smartly, though.
So then what happens? So as we've got the druid and the cleric who are going to pull up on the rope while she's climbing.
Oh my god!
So it's the barbarian,
The
by the way.
druid and the cleric are going to pull somebody
The barbarian.
out of
The Goliath barbarian out of the water and up the cliff.
No.
So I had them all roll for this. It's like, okay.
Thunder.
So let's
So much thunder right now.
see how this goes. And the druid rolls like shit. So she takes a somersault backwards after the first pull.
Did she end up in the river?
No, good. She was facing like there was more
moving back.
Yeah,
Oh, hallelujah.
she was moving back away from the river. But then the cleric rolled a nat 20.
Okay.
So like, okay, you plant your feet and you
Crack the whip and they fly up.
but the thing was like I had the barbarian roll for like how well are you assisting with the climb, and she rolled a nat 1 again.
Oh my god.
Basically,
Yo-yo
she's-
Goliath.
Trying to actively stop the cleric from pulling her up. I'm not. I don't want. No. Wedge yourself between cliff
no.
rocks.
At this point, I just kind of was like, all right, we need to move on with this. So like, all right, you don't let go of the rope, but you also assist in the climb. Not at all. So basically, she's just like holding onto the rope.
Bouncing against the cliff.
Just dead weight.
And just like, and so it's like the cliff is at an angle enough so that she's basically just like dead weight being dragged.
I just like on the face.
Arms folded, pissed off face. Like has rage prime for fucking berserk as soon as I get up there. I swear to
You guys are done. Bonus
my
action rage.
Then this was like, okay, so this is actually tying in. If we continue the story a little bit, this actually ties into the next point that you had about like letting players make mistakes. The druid, it was like the next bit is like these
I was like,
spinny.
didn't the players already make mistakes?
Oh yeah, no, they totally did.
We have mistakes being made.
I think we woke up then.
So like we have these spinny things that they have to somehow pause on the other side.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so like the druid,
Big spinning blades.
Yes.
Multiple gears you had to get through.
the druid shape changes into like a moth or something small, and goes over to the switch and is like, okay, I want to flip the switch. I'm like,
You're a moth.
exactly.
No, you're a moth. Yeah, dude.
She's like,
You're a moth.
can I do it in moth form? No, because like I would like to not waste a wild shape.
Too
slot. I'm
late.
like,
Too late.
go ahead and roll for it.
Oh no.
And she rolled pretty well, like a 17 or something. Like you push up on it,
It jiggles.
but nothing really happens because you're a moth.
The inescapable truth of it is
You're a moth.
you're a moth.
So then she did what she ought to have done in the first place, which would be back into her normal form and lift it with her hand. But yeah,
But to your point, you allowed her to make a choice that you knew wasn't going to work.
oh yeah, no, I could
Yeah.
have just told her
It's not going to work.
Sorry, you could
You're
have
a
hit
moth?
an 87 on that D20 and I would have been like, you
No.
still a moth?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
then.
wasn't gonna work regardless, but I let her roll for it because that's part of the fun. And like they're all like giggling. They're
Laugh as hard
yeah,
as we are.
it's
I
'cause
mean,
they're
we're not
pretty slap
playing it
happy
more
at this
laughing.
point.
Have the
Because, like-
opportunity for lore and further investment there. You hit a nat 20 on that, and now you've got the world's strongest moth story, and like that's going to get you into places. You know,
exactly. And like, and then
I battled Mothra, but that has
Mothra.
nothing to do with
and like
D&D.
this section of the module like ended with them discovering that the king had literally super glued his husband to a chair, and like And then they had to go back to
You see why I
Phandalin
homebrew?
and
You see why I homebrew?
Yeah.
they had to go back to the city and like get their reward,
Yep, I remember
which
this.
was
Under the
gold
under
pieces
the door.
poked one at a time under the
bear
door. Like,
was too scared to come out.
Yeah, so the poking the gold pieces one at a time under the door and the king gluing his husband to the chair were both in the module, but
Yeah.
the rest of that was like that
It was
ended up
purely
being
them.
Oh yeah, it was purely them either making stupid choices or just a combination of making stupid choices and rolling really terribly.
Super glue king.
And that was honestly the best session we've ever had. Like we haven't topped that yet.
Yeah.
Like it was
Very
fantastic.
cool. So
Allowing
I hate to
people to
do this
make
because this has been great conversation, but I need to keep us moving.
That's fine.
We've been
Me
having
too.
a great
We're
time.
walking
but-
the dog with this one.
Yeah. So what else?
Honestly, like, and we don't even have to do problem players. I think telling people they're doing a good job.
Ooh,
Encouragement.
yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously DMs, but other players. If
players.
somebody is doing something that you think is cool, tell them.
Or if
Yeah.
there's something about their character and the way that they're role playing.
That's
dude,
so
I
awesome.
absolutely love that idea. And yeah, I think that it's good to foster a positive environment there.
And yep.
Very cool.
One
I
of
like that.
the backside of that is don't make fun of people. You can joke with people, but don't. If somebody's doing an accent and you think it's dumb, or you start, don't tease them like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do it
Be a
positive.
good person.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. Thank you, Tori, for bringing that to
That
the
was
table.
very awesome. I like that conversation.
Yeah, very much so. We're going to go on break, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Fighting Atoria for this first part of our show today. When we come back, Malcolm is going to bring some interesting stuff to the table about
No, I'm just bringing interesting stuff to the table. I'm going to empty my
art
pocket.
and other interesting stories. So
Here
we're
is a
going to
nickel.
see you when we get back.
Bye.
Bah.
This episode of Fighting Atoria is brought to you by Wordleaf Media. The Fighting Atoria podcast is looking for guests for our upcoming episodes. Are you or someone you know passionate about the TTRPG community and have a story to share? If so, contact us on our socials or reach out at wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria. And now back to your program.
Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of this episode of Finding Atoria. We are excited to have Malcolm bringing a conversation
The room's
to us.
electric right now. Everybody's like, we're back. That's us.
So yeah, Malcolm, tell us what you're bringing to the table today.
I wanted to talk a little bit about a movie because I like talking a little bit about
Movies.
movies. And the movie that I want to talk just a little bit about today and kind of maybe push off a little bit of a controversial conversation topic from this movie is a couple of sources I used always imdb.com for movie information. I used the actual piece, watched it, and it's a movie called Eye of the Beholder, The Art of Dungeons and Dragons. It's a 2019 film. There were a couple listed, but Kelly Slagle was, I believe, the main director. And it does not try to confuse you with what it's about. It is a little retrospective documentary on the physical art that made the books that are the culture of the TTRPG Dungeons and Dragons, and focuses in on a lot of the prominent names from the early and even continuing art of the genre and of the game.
Yeah, it was interesting to watch and see all the iconic stuff that you grew up with.
I recommend the
Back when they
movie.
drew.
Yeah.
Back when they drew, and some of the theys that were very important in the movie, and they talk to these people who have had these careers in fantasy art, who started, and it's kind of along the same lines as you hear about a lot of other artists in other genres like comic books. You talk about high school kids that got plucked and paid absolute nickels or nothing for the chance to come in and be part of this culture and part of what was, and they're working in the warehouse that's not really, the best
Not a
shape.
studio.
And it's a semi-professional environment where creativity was favored over corporate structure. for a very short amount
That's
of time
what bit
because
TSR in the ass.
So, because there wasn't any money for corporate structure to matter. But some of the names, and if I mispronounce things, correct me. I mean, come out online, come after me, tell me, I'll learn.
Come at me, bro.
No, not in that way. No, internet, do not come at me, bro. Anywho,
Sorry.
should get me back for the crinkle comments. Names like Larry Elmore.
There it is.
That's probably one that I grew up knowing the most about, and you can't really just say, "Oh, Larry's famous piece is." There's so much art out there that he's done. But then you have these names, and there's 4 or 5 that are considered, who, depending on who you talk to, the 4 horsemen of the fantasy art movement at the time. Errol Otis, Gerald Brom, Clyde Caldwell, Keith Parkinson, and Jeff Easley are known.
I was going to say, wait.
As some of those, and Jeff Easley's probably the one that if I'm going to, and they bring up this idea that the game would have been different.
Yeah.
If you did not have these artists. And we play so much with the theater of the mind, and that's fine, but that theater had to be constructed by some artwork, some images.
Yeah.
And I just remember the power of Easley's Player's Handbook 2nd edition cover of that Cavalier Knight coming in on the horse and just charge down something, and it was certain doom from your first perspective. And it did. It allowed those spaces to be filled in that had not been.
Well, I really liked, just because I've seen most of, if not all of, the documentary as well, and I really liked how they brought up the fact that, you could give a description of these fantasy monsters, but they're not the things that we see in everyday life. And so, if you had the 4 of us sitting around a table and one person giving a description and asking us to draw it, you have 4 different drawings that end up
right.
being
If somebody
done.
walks in and says, "Hey team, I want a beholder, and it's this, this, and this, and I need it by 2:00, pen to paper, we're not coming up with the same thing.
No.
And that's what was really neat about the early days, when it was just project work and you were coming to work, and they did things like the monster manual in batches and say,
that was really cool
all
to
right,
hear.
buddy, you got A through D. So if you go through the monster manual,
just get done what you can get done that
Oh,
day.
that's so
and then
fucking
they
cool.
pass it, so you can actually go through and see that
the motherfuckers were doing the binder like that.
the certain artists were responsible for a series of alphabetic, and then it goes to a different person for a chunk, because it was piecework for artists back then.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's actually awesome, in all honesty.
Really neat stuff. I think it was Errol Otis that did the cover for Demigods and Deities, which I always found was, it looked more like, it wasn't as high fantasy artwork in that book, but I love the fact that you had visual representations for some of these deities from some of these mythos. It was just really neat. And they go back to, these ideas that these were kids that were shaping the ideas in the mental images that would feed games for the 50 years later.
Well, and that was the piece too that I thought was really cool, was that idea of this era really, just like D&D shaped so much of just TTRPGs.
Right.
That this era of art, of fantasy art, is really where modern fantasy art stems from.
You didn't have an idea of what a dragon, there had not been major movies that really addressed it in a serious context. You really didn't have an idea for what they talked about, some of the first artists that decided what magic looked like when somebody's hand was in the air, how did you know
Glowing?
that they were doing a magical spell, and the sparkle effects and the things that were added to
That's awesome.
To so much of it. But one of Jeff Easley's biggest ones that we all, I think, know is the red dragon in the cave, the monstrous, just humongous red dragon in the cave coming at the adventurer. There's just these things that invoke a level of depth that I think is very cool. I wanted to pass around a little bit of Q&A and ask if there was any art that or any images that really got you going through the books in the early days, or that you see now And then, of course, I'm going to walk us into the deeper waters, if you don't mind, of what's going on with art now in high fantasy, and everybody's face just scrunched up because you know where the topic's going. We can generate images differently than we could before. And those of us that do not have any ability in traditional art and drawing and painting and rendering of images in other ways have this tool now. And is it a nasty thing? Is it a bad thing? And I just want to kind of go around first and remind everybody that we're here with Tori, we're here with Arcadia and Jess in the studio, and kind of turn it over for conversation about art and how it's impacted your interactions with TTRPGs.
So you first thought was like iconic images for us?
Yeah, if there were any, if there's anything that sticks out from, I just know that for me, that second edition player's handbook, I could go in and read part of it, or I could go in and just look at some of the art and get inspired by it.
For me, it's the books, it's the cover, the artwork cover,
right,
on the Dragonlance and the Forgotten Realms book.
Oh, from the novel.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that just stick with me. You put and they had some in the documentary, and they just popped them up, and it was like
streams of silver.
Yeah.
Right, the old friends, that just where you would see those images and know those tales, and that was huge. Jess, what about you? It's a newer interaction with the hobby, but still an appreciation and love of the books. Do you find that art impacts your character creation process, your DMing storytelling, or how you interact with the game at all?
Well, it's like being so new to this, like I haven't spent decades looking at these pictures. Like I don't have like necessarily a standout
one image.
Yeah, like this picture of a dragon made my childhood or something like that.
Right.
But like it's interesting to see how much of, just like my first time flipping through the player's handbook.
Right.
Back in the summer of 2023, summer of
23.
Summer of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the dark ages of 2023, like that's
so long ago.
Yeah, that's how far back my D&D experience or TTRPG experience in general goes, back to August of 2023. So long. I'm so experienced. But there's like flipping through those images, just seeing what was in 5e, because that was what was the 2014 5e was what was available at the time. It's interesting to know how much this stuff has like crept into just the cultural consciousness as a whole, because none of them looked like things that were surprising to me. Mm-hmm. Even
it's
though
things you've seen all over fantasy books your entire life.
I hadn't read any of the D&D related fantasy
Forgotten
books
Realms stuff.
Right, I hadn't read the Forgotten Realms stuff yet. I'd maybe picked up a Dragonlance book, but I'd not really realized that it was D&D at the time.
The creatures were familiar. The representations of the monsters were familiar.
How dragons looked, what magic looked like that's seen on fantasy covers. Like, you can see where
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings in a visual aspect.
Lord of the Rings, I think, came first.
No, the written aspect.
Yeah.
But what about the visual? I mean, the movies and the CGI and all of that, where do they pull that out of?
Not going to lie, seeing Smog
right
was the shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That one I'll put a quarter in.
Yeah, it's like for the movies, yeah, absolutely. I think there's a long history of sorry. There's a long history of Lord of the Rings artwork as well, like from early on. I don't know enough about that to like really comment on it. I know that there was a lot of artwork specific to that, but so I don't know where that lies in.
Right, and what influenced what at that time.
Right. So I can't comment on that.
Sure, and neither can I, because they didn't go into that depth on it. But like everything, I think it is influenced by something. It's not going to be the first time that somebody's taken a crack at what a dragon could be.
Right.
Yeah. And like maybe Lord of the Rings did influence D&D in terms of like, what does an elf look like?
Sure.
Or, or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Tolkien's influence on D&D
everything.
is everything.
Right. So, yeah, it's like when I've seen like both of those things, like a lot of fantasy either pulls directly from those in inspiration or purposefully tries to subvert it. One of the two. Either way, it's a reaction to one of those two or both of them. So that's
a good point, is sometimes they will know what the norm is associated to and go the other way.
What I think is interesting is just to take a real world example of how it has influenced all of us is, I'm working on getting a tattoo that is going to be, part of it's going to be a dragon. And for this particular tattoo, it's an Asian dragon. And what I think is very interesting is that if I make a connotation about like a European dragon, we all sort of get a vision in our head of what we think that is. And to a lot of extent, that doesn't look like what a European dragon looked like on coat of arms back in the Middle Ages. No. That looks like what Easley was drawing, for D&D back in the 80s and 70s,
and it's a different association with the modern interpretation of what that is, the serpent and the dragon, because different cultures have it represented different ways. And you saw that in different influences from different artists. The movie was kind of neat where it even talked about, and I've seen another documentary that spoke to the earliest D&D art, some of it just being borrowed. Like you can see the Thor Marvel comic layover for the fighter with the cape, where they just did not have artists, and they needed to get. You can't put out a book that's just reams of paper and rules, although it tried. So yeah, just to start off this venture, they had to borrow and steal a little bit along the way. But Tori, I wanted to ask you about art and how it influenced your character choice with Nori, and how,
well,
if there was anything from the books that we read and dealing with other artist representations that formed Nori for you.
When did Homeland come out?
Oof. Well, I don't know because I don't have that readily available right now. We pause for a quick internet searching break. I will give you music. Here we go. Tori's on the internet and searching. This is all being edited.
Oh, R.A. Stop it. There we go.
But Homeland had a huge influence on.
Well, and it was the big ass picture.
Mm-hmm.
The cover art from
the cover art. And I was like, yeah. Going to be a two-handed, not a fighter, because that's, and I don't want to be a ranger.
Cover art for
90. It was totally.
Oh, I remember that book.
And had if I was prepared, I would have done more research on who had done the cover art for Salvatore at the time.
She could probably find it.
But it gets us to a point now, and we hear in the community so much when people are doing world building, when they're doing writing, that protecting the art and the artist role is very important. Mm-hmm. Salvatore's cover art for you,
so good.
First of all, is amazing. But
he switched artists from the first three, from Icewind Dale. He got a different artist for the Homeland and Sojourn and Exile and all those.
Yep.
But he kept that artist through that whole series.
Okay. And so it was a continued theme for
man, oh man. I was like, yeah, I want the purple elf.
Right. And you're forming this character in your mind and being informed very much by the art that's going on at the time.
Because it looked badass.
Absolutely. It really
I was able to give a backstory to back it up, but no, that was like, that'd be really cool, actually.
And found a character that you play amazingly and kind of surpassed the original work.
Who's the
cover artist? Jeff Easley. There you go.
I wondered if it was Easley.
I figured it was, actually.
That was sort of why I was asking. I wondered if it was him.
I'm kind of setting us all up here by talking about how cool some of our favorite art is. And I'm going to ask a serious question. does it matter that it's a Jeff Easley? Does it matter that it is an Elmore? Or if I got into my favorite AI tool, prompted the shit out of it, and something looked cool, what's the importance of the artist versus the modern game as it's changed?
I don't want to put. I want those fantasy artists still to get to find their place.
So societally, we want to support the artists.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
and AI is cool. Don't get me wrong. There are some really, really great applications for it. But my worry is I want to make sure that those artists still get supported and they still have their own space.
Yeah, and for me, it's not like to the extent of I don't want AI tool to exist. I think I think there's a place for AI as a tool. But I think, and actually, Jess and I have had this conversation in regards to our professional world in writing and, to the idea of AI as a tool, and can be used as a tool, but it's just a tool. And I think when you take that human element out of it, there's things that are missing. I don't really care how good the AI is. There's just a depth.
Usually it's a finger.
To the
Or eyes. Finger or eyes. Eyes
is just not
get
quite
weird.
what it needs to be. I don't know, Jess.
Yeah, like my opinion on AI art is for things like book covers, official art for the D&D world, yeah, that should be a real artist. But like, if I'm just kind of like world building and I'm creating a monster and like I don't have the
You just want a quick little visual to show
like,
somebody.
it doesn't need to look great. It just needs to be like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And like the choices are between run it through AI and see what comes up, or have no art at all because hiring an artist for this quick thing is not an option. Then yeah, go ahead and use AI for that. But like the companies making the manuals for a TTRPG, hire a real artist because it's a company producing a thing for sale. Like that's an official thing that should
Watsy, you can afford it.
Right.
Right.
I think about like back in the day when we had our paper, copies of character sheets. Good God, at 9 years old, I'm trying to draw a little human face or elven ears or, whatever. And that was our depiction of our characters other than our minis. And I was no artist, and so to me, it's to that point, Jess, it's, if I would just try and sketch something out or draw something out myself so there was a visual, well, sure, let me use an AI tool because it's going to be a lot better than what I could draw myself.
Okay, and here
on D&D Beyond, every single one of my characters has an AI generated image of what I think they look like because I am a writer.
Sure.
I am not an artist.
But if I
that's
wanted
not a
to
thing
buy
that, like,
something and put it up on my wall and
that's where I'd get real art.
That's
for.
where I want
yeah,
a real artist.
On my wall, I want real art for my D&D character sheet. Like that's not worth. I mean, and I want artists to get paid what they're worth, absolutely, which is often a lot more than what they're actually making.
Yeah.
But for what my character looks like on my D&D character sheet is not something that is worth.
If I wouldn't have
hiring
spent
an
money
artist
on it
for.
to hire an artist before, I don't have a problem using an AI tool to generate it now.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah, this was never something, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have paid for any art for this. I would have just had nothing or drawn it myself. Then AI is fine. But yeah, it's like I'm not going to replace great art on my wall with AI. Oh, no.
there we go.
Very controversial topic. Once again,
is.
anytime that you are out in any forum, and even the term is brought up, people come to the table with some very, very hard positions and stances and opinions, which is just fine.
I don't know how, to what timeline does the documentary go to? How much into the, you said it was created in 2019.
It was
Does
a
it go up to
2019,
that time?
so yeah, so there wasn't a lot of talk of AI. There's certainly they did not include as much about the modern artists.
Right.
It was more the heroes and legends of the early days.
Yeah, I was curious as to how much, they do use in the current books,
I'm not sure. I know that transformative for me were two books when we were younger, and it was Larry Elmore's Shadowrun cover.
Yeah.
It's just
yes.
an
Oh my
image.
goodness, yes.
Like I could stare at that and come up with story plot lines for days and days. And
Hide
then
behind the car.
it's sort of a lead into a second movie, but there's a documentary about the world of darkness in VTM and the artist.
Oh, damn.
The art of,
Yeah.
From
yeah.
that first book from Masquerade,
The art for VTM is amazing.
that original book,
Dude.
and yeah, that guy, and I'll get his name, but he was featured in their
He probably
documentary.
did Werewolf too. Then
He
well,
was-
because it was all
did
one.
a
World of Darkness,
bunch of
yeah.
stuff, and then when they came out later with like other like Requiem and stuff that he was not part of, like the books just didn't catch as much. Really, really good stuff, and it was something that allowed me, not playing in a World of Darkness atmosphere before, I was able to access that character and that world a lot
Yeah.
easier because of those images. And once again, like that Elmore stuff, for like, and I don't know if he did the street punk, but if I say street punk, image that pops up in your mind is from that first Shadowrun book, and you know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
So I think that it's fantastic. I think that the documentary is worth a watch, and it's something to me that because we don't play virtual tabletop and a lot, and we don't play big set imagery a lot, that if we did not have the shared artwork from the books, our theater of the mind might not be as relatable to one another at the table sometimes. So
A good point. Very good
when you
point.
say beholder now, everybody has that same.
absolutely, yeah. Flogging, possibly. All right. That's what I had. If I missed any important artist names or associations, there are tons of them. They literally go through a lot of their catalogs and flash through, and you're going to see images and have names associated. But I think just the idea that it has its place, as much as what was exploding with the game growth and the mechanics and the actual game creation at that time, I think that you needed to have the synergy of visual representation of what you were selling to the populace for storyline to have it click, to have it sync. And that's what I had.
Awesome. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table for us to talk about today. I have a new appreciation from having watched that documentary and talked about it. Just for me, it was something that I almost took it for granted, because I grew up with it in front of my face. Like I just didn't really think about the fact that before this, we didn't have that.
There just was not a genre of that art.
You know, to the idea that when we're at the table, our theater of the mind, at least to a certain degree, coalesces. And because these are iconic images that we all grew up with. So anyway, it's a very cool conversation. Thank you.
Fun to do.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to us on Finding a Toria today, guys. We are always grateful to have you listening, and we sort of hope you'll not just listen, but talk to us. Reach out on our social media sites. We're on Facebook for Wordleaf Media and Finding a Toria, soon to be on Instagram. And always, you can find us at www.wordleafmedia.com/findingatoria.
the button.
And we have some really great content behind our Patreon paywall. Please consider pushing the button and
Oh boy.
getting access to some of that content.
Seriously, talk to us. Be part of the conversation.
Yeah, we would love your feedback, your input, and your thoughts on what you want us to talk about.
And seriously, some of that Patreon stuff is pretty cool. Like we've got some like additional bonus episodes, and I'm writing a book. So like there will be like sneak peeks. Like the first chapter maybe will be there.
Yeah, so it's not just podcast stuff behind the
I'll have
behind
some
the
short
wall.
stories that take place in the same world as my novel. And on top of that, like, you know, the podcast is called Finding a Toria. A Toria is our world that we built for our D&D game. We have characters with backstories and lore from the world that we're
share.
all gonna
Lore
write
drops
into
incoming.
stories, and like that'll all be there as well. So there are, you know,
Lots
there's-
of fun stuff coming behind the paywall.
yeah. It's like, so there's cool stuff there now. There's a lot more cool stuff coming. So
All right, guys. Thank you again for listening to Finding a Toria. We will see you next time. Well, you'll hear us. There we go. That's a proper word.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Okay.
We'll be back.
All right, bye. why you don't do 3 a day, man. Just telling you. We're going to see this in the metrics. I'm telling you. Oh, that was a third episode.